staying in the AFC East, what do we like and not like about the Miami Dolphins, what they've done so far?
I think it has to be the Jalen Ramsey deal, right?
Yeah, I love Jalen Ramsey.
Like, getting a player that good for a song, that draft pick, I mean, that's fantastic business. It's hard to argue with that. Like, if you have the space to fit him in, which they do, then what the hell?
Even moving him to a 2-year guaranteed contract, all fine. I mean, those are the aggressive. I like aggressive moves generally, and I like high upside moves. This is a high upside move at the right position. Having Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard on the outside, the scheme fit with Vic Fangio. I like the move quite a bit. This is what the Dolphins have to do, and now and they are playing the first contract quarterback game, right? They've got Tua on the first contract. You can essentially afford to have a high-priced receiver and a high-priced corner, and using basically the same thing I said about the Bills. Where do I want my high-priced players to be? At the most valuable positions. So I think that all fits in with what they're doing.
And Ramsey's still only 28. When he's sort of up for the next deal, you're probably going to be in a tougher spot salary-wise, because all of a sudden you probably won't have a quarterback on the first contract. So it's kind of timed nicely to be able to say we get 2 years out of him fully guaranteed, then we end up letting him walk. And there's a benefit these days to letting a player as good as that walk and sign somewhere else. Like, they can let him hit free agency and potentially get a compensatory draft pick back in the process. So it makes sense. It's a good process move. It's a good personnel move just from an addition of talent standpoint. And they are loading up at the right areas. They've now got this, we said this multiple times this week, they've got arguably 2 number 1 wide receivers and arguably 2 number 1 cornerbacks. That's good roster construction.
Yes. Love that. Well said. David Long was also a really good deal, right? In this crazy, are we going to like everything?
No. I mean, I'm sure we'll hate some things.
I'm sure we'll hate something.
My previous track record would suggest there are things I won't like.
Yeah, I was a little worried we were going to be overly optimistic here, and then thanks for reminding me that you would never let that happen. So I'm liking a lot of what the Dolphins did here, because the aggressive move was at the right positions. The more subtle moves were David Long at linebacker, who is a guy that graded at 76 last year, one of the most valuable linebackers by PFF WAR last year. 2 years, $11 million. When we're talking about Tremaine Edmonds and some of the linebackers busting the market pretty well, David Long on the cheap, and then just getting the running backs back, Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson again on the cheap, rather than going crazy for some of the bigger name running backs.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, Miami is doing the running back thing the way we've been arguing you should do it, which is don't give a giant free agent contract to any kind of running back. Don't give big money to the second deal. You can get guys like Mostert or Jeff Wilson Jr. for 2 years and under $10 million apiece. 8.2 for Wilson, 5.6 for Mostert. Both those guys are under contract for 2 years for the kind of price of one marquee free agent running back.
Is there anything the Dolphins haven't done, or anything that they have done that you don't like? Because to me, it's only like, all right, did they need to address guard or right tackle a little bit more? Do they need to? I probably suggested Kelvin Beachum for them to come in and play right tackle, but of course he goes back to Arizona.
Yeah,
did they address a couple offensive line positions, or did they address tight end, where Mike Gesicki's still out there?
They do still need to work on the offensive line. They obviously need a tight end at some point, and it's a good draft for that, so maybe that's their approach there. Like, maybe you would have liked to see them add an offensive lineman, but it's the kind of position where, look, there's still guys out there that can come in there and be capable starters of this team. They're not done yet necessarily. I also like, by the way, the addition of Mike White.
Everything. Look at you liking everything that the Dolphins and Bills have done so far.
I mean, a team that expects to have Tua back and 100% healthy, but has to, at the very minimum, be thinking of him as a potentially fragile quarterback at this stage, has added a guy who has shown for 2 years in a row now that if you have to play him and give him starts, he can look like a capable starter at times. So yeah, it's a bit rich, 2 years, $16 million, but that's, I think, a sensible contingency plan.
Yeah, everything's good. Everything's good with Miami. I guess the only questions are, how do they handle those other holes on the roster. Would love to see them upgrade at tight end. Would love to see more competition on the offensive line, and then just overall depth on the defensive side. Lose Deshaun Elliott at safety. Brandon Jones is coming back. I mean, I think they're really good in the secondary. So
Yeah.
I guess the only thing I don't like is maybe all that they traded for Bradley Chubb when they did.
That can't count.
That doesn't count. I'm trying to be negative here, Sam. Let me have something
I
negative.
think it's okay to say some teams did a good job so far.
I'm just trying to be true to the title.
Okay.
All right.
What's the movie you didn't like?
For who?
Miami.
I just told you I couldn't find one. I was making stuff up.
Yeah.
I was just making stuff up. The thing I don't like is maybe they have more work to do. That's it. That's all I got.